May I just request you again I know we're all very busy, but either put your cell phones on silent or switch it completely off, please. And then just to confirm again, we will make the presentations available and also the video recording on our website. If there's questions again, you see on the screen on my right-hand side, your left-hand side, you can text all questions to the mobile number shown on the screen. I hope you enjoyed tea. Let's start with the proceedings again. And we welcome Mr. Charles Basson from Syngenta, and he will enlighten us on the potential of high oil sunflower seed in South Africa. The floor is yours, Charles.
Thanks. Quickly, just we had an addition of a microphone on our ears now, so just want to sort this wire out. Okay, thank you, everybody. Yes, before we start, I just want to thank everybody who invited us, and a special thanks to Maria. I'm not sure where she is in the crowd. I forgot to submit the CV, and she stalked me on LinkedIn, so she made a CV for me. So I just want to put that out there. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. So I'm Charles Basson, sunflower breeder at Syngenta, and it's really a privilege today for us to come and speak about the potential of high oil sunflower seed in South Africa. Before I start, quickly just want to say who we are as Syngenta, Syngenta sunflower business and our global footprint. Then moving on to the question that I'm going to ask, why a high oil focus in South Africa? Looking at some sunflower consumption data, then a BFAP report dating back from 2012 to 2020. Then moving on to our, not strategy, but our approach between marketing, commercial and breeding alignment at Syngenta. And then some interesting stories that we have regarding some industry collaborations we have at the moment. So who are we? Syngenta Seeds. So Syngenta Seeds forms part of the Syngenta Group, which has 4 legs: Syngenta Seed Protection, Syngenta Seeds, Adama, and Syngenta Group China. And it's interesting that Syngenta Seeds and Syngenta Crop Protection, these are the 2 main pillars or the core pillars of the business. Syngenta Group as a group employs 30,000 people worldwide. Over 90 countries worldwide, so it's good to be part of a bigger group. And we as Sensaku form part of Syngenta Seeds. So Sensaku in South Africa is Syngenta Seeds, and our commercial brand in South Africa is Sensaku. We will be marketing all our wheat, sunflower, and corn varieties under the Sensaku brand. So just a quick brief history about Syngenta sunflower business. We can see that in 1970, Syngenta started their sunflower business. Back in the day, it was called NK. This brand still exists. The program was started in 1970, and then in 1975, a Swiss-based company called Sandoz acquired NK. From there on, in 1986, so almost 11 years later, they moved the program from the US to France, and then in the year 2000, this is when the brand Syngenta was formed. So it's interesting just to mention that most of us see Syngenta as a crop protection company, but Syngenta actually globally, worldwide, is the number 3 seeds company in the world. Syngenta was formed in 2000, and in 2010, Syngenta acquired Monsanto's sunflower breeding genetics. And then to 2018, Nadera Seeds was purchased by Syngenta, and then in 2020, Sensaku became part of the Syngenta family. Very interesting fact just before I go to the next slide. The genetics from Monsanto back in the day, Sensaku was part of Monsanto, so we had sunflower genetics, and then it's very interesting to see the loop, how the genetics that was part of Sensaku back in the day is coming back to Sensaku now, so we're making a full circle. Then just Syngenta's current sunflower footprint, we can see that in all the major markets, Syngenta has got a very, very big global sunflower footprint. We are market leaders in countries like Argentina, where we have a 70% market share, and we also have a very dominant footprint in Europe, which is the biggest sunflower market in the world. Oh. So the question, why a high oil focus in South Africa? So if we look at the graph here, we can see that this is an indication of the processed sunflower seeds in South Africa from the year 2000 to 2001. So stretching over 21 years, we've got the different indicators, so seed and feed, so this might be for animal consumption and human consumption, and then we see the blue line at the top with the totals is for oil and oil cake. So we can see that less than 1% of all the sunflower seeds being processed in South Africa is for seed and feed, which leaves us with 99% of the sunflower seeds processed in South Africa for oil and oil cake. So if we ask the question, why a high oil focus in South Africa, I think this is kind of a very straightforward answer, because we are processing sunflower seed for its oil. So if we look at sunflower consumption in South Africa, this is a report, a BFAP report that was released. We can see that from 2010 to 2020, there's been a 28% increase in consumption. And then this report also states that in the next 10 years, from 2020 to 2030, there'd be a further 17% increase. So I know this morning some figures were also released, and it might be an up and down, but we can see that there's an upward trend in terms of consumption of sunflower oil in South Africa. So the next question that we need to ask ourselves is, okay, we've got a 45% increase in oil consumption over a period of 20 years. This is just for South Africa alone. What would be the consumption increase over the next 20 years? We need to ask ourselves as a company, we need to ask ourselves as an industry, and I think we as farmers in South Africa also need to ask ourselves the same question. What is going to be the consumption in 20 years' time from now? People are getting more, demand is getting higher, and we need to be ready to meet that demand. So this graph was also shared this morning by Prof. Adley, and I think this is, for me, is a very interesting graph, because we can see on the left-hand side, we can see the yield in ton per hectare over the years, and then on this side, we can see the oil content in percentage, and we've got the blue dots, which is the national average yields. We've got the green and the blue, or the green and the black, which is the quality report of the SAGL, and then the Mildor report. So we can see that from 2013, 14, 15, we had higher oil content. So this could be a number of factors could influence this, but we can see that from 2016 to 2020, our national yield was kind of stable, but our oil content decreased. So there's a negative correlation between that, and we as the industry, we know and we are aware of this, but the question needs to be asked, why? Why are we seeing this? And the answer, I think, is kind of a simple answer, because farmers are being compensated for yield. So they are selecting the hybrids on the market with the best yield per ton, and they're not looking at oil as an indicating factor at all. So, as I mentioned, influencing factors. Lots of factors can influence what we are seeing here. We already saw planting dates. We already saw fertilizer from Quibus. So there's lots of factors that are influencing this. We've got the biotic and abiotic stresses, and we like drought stress, heat stress, rain disease, etc. But we as a company, as Syngenta, are saying, yes, we can take into account that might be the factors, but what can we control? we can control the genotypes. So we are saying that, yes, we need to focus on stuff that are adapted, but we can be in control of what we select and what we push into the market. So going over to the next part is we've in Syngenta we've got a lot of abbreviations. TPP is one of them, so it's just short for target product profile. And what basically happens is we as a breeding team and a commercial team, we come together and we get aligned, and we came up with the following. So our focus will be on the conventional market. If I talk about conventional here, this is not, we're not talking about traits, we're not talking about Clearfield Plus, we're talking about oil here, so the topic is oil, so we will still focus on a conventional market. In this market, there would be a high focus on yield, high focus on wide adaptability, and then obviously it's going to be very farmer focused. But what we are also saying is we will be focusing on high oil. So if we say focusing on high oil, this is us as the breeding team, we're focusing on hybrids that have genetic potential for higher oil. In this segment, we will still be focusing on high yield. So combining the high oil and the high yield. I know there's a misconception in my view that there is a negative correlation between high yield and high oil, but as we've seen today, there's a lot of factors affecting yield. So is it really the high yield that's affecting the oil? Is it the practices that we are not following? Is it the planting dates? Is it the fertilizer? Is it our general management of the crop? Selecting the crop as our number one crop and not as the catch crop, as we say. Then in this segment, we will still be focusing on wide adaptability. Farmers will always be our focus. So we have the potential here for the farmer to be the focus of this segment. But what we are also saying is let's take hands with the industry. Let's be industry focused. And I think this is a very important point that I'm making is if we are industry focused, we are closing the loop. We are asking the industry, what are your needs? And we are asking the farmer, what are your needs? And we're trying to bring those needs together in a segment like this. So what we see in a segment like this is we see the farmer and we see the crusher, and then we see what are the advantages. So we can say that the advantages for the farmer is sustainability, but for the crusher we can say that the advantages is sustainability as well. But we can add to the crusher, we can say there's the added advantage of local sourcing. Local sourcing of sunflower seeds with high oil. Another advantage of this will be yield efficiency. So we've got improved yield with the same or the lower inputs, but on the crusher side, we've got extraction efficiency. So if you've got seed with higher oil content, there's efficiency in the quantity of oil that's being extracted per ton that is being crushed. And then the last one, and this point was also touched on this morning, we can say that there's an advantage for the farmer with a price premium potential. As we already saw this morning, for every percent over a certain percentage of oil content, you can have an increase of 1.5% per percent of oil that you increase above, I think it was 38 or 40% of oil. And then also the oil yield performance again. So there's efficiency at the end of the day for the crusher in terms of oil yield performance. So for the quantity of oil that they produce per ton that they are crushing. So we all have a very realistic idea of what's going on in South Africa at the moment. I think we're struggling with stuff like load shedding. We're struggling with increased electricity prices. All of these are factors that are, in the end of the day, influencing the margins of the crusher. So if the crusher can, at the end of the day, produce more oil out of less tons, it's making it more profitable for them as well. Another thing that I would like to mention here is if we look at consumption, so we are making assumptions that our consumption, I'm glad I got that right. So we are making assumptions that our consumption is only going to increase by a X percentage. But what should our assumptions be if the margins or the cost of producing oil is going down? So if our cost of producing oil is going down, is the price of oil going to go up? No, the price of oil is going to come down. So is that going to influence our consumption? So these are all questions that we need to ask ourselves as a company and as an industry. And I think the farmer, in terms of sustainability and thinking about the futures, where are we moving and how can we help be sustainable in that? So looking at the next slide, going back to the title, the potential of high oil sunflower seed in South Africa, we've got one variety, 3970, and I think in Sophia's slides you saw that this variety or this hybrid has got genetic potential to have higher oil. The planting date did not affect the oil, so there's no negative correlation in terms of planting dates versus oil content. And we see this as a cornerstone or a corner block in this loop circle where we can say we know that this hybrid will produce high oil, and it doesn't matter where, in which regions or what planting dates you plant it. So it goes like this. So the farmer plants the variety, and at this stage, everything that we've discussed today, from the beginning up until now, influences how this potential for the farmer can be increased. So we're increasing by selecting the best planting dates for the variety that you are selecting, having the correct fertilizer, as Kobus mentioned, in your field at the right time, and really protecting the crop and selecting the crop to be a high oil potential crop. You can get contracts with companies like Sioko. Sioko is already having contracts with farmers where they say, okay, we will pay a premium price for not your yield, but your oil content of every ton that you deliver to us. And then the farmer has the money back in its pocket and the loop is closed. So the potential of a high oil sunflower seed in South Africa is this: to have benefit for the crusher, to have benefit for the farmer, and to increase not only the efficiency of the farmer, but the crusher, but the efficiency of the farmer as well. So 3970 has been an old kid on the block, and we know it's been here for quite a while. But we as Syngenta really feel there's a high potential in this, and we already have new kids coming to the party. So we have new varieties that have got better yield potential, better wider adaptability, and has got the same potential in terms of oil in all of the different regions and planting dates. So I want to end off with just a quote from Eric Firewald. He's our CEO at the Syngenta Group. And he said, listening to farmers and giving them a seat at the table is critically important to reserve climate change and to improve global food security. So for me, this is very important because our end goal should always be to reverse climate change. And global food security is not, it's a thing that has been mentioned, but it's really a thing that's going to become critical in the future. And how are we making sure that on the 500,000 hectares that we are producing, if we look at our long-term production, on that 500,000 hectares, how are we efficiently planting hybrids that has the potential to give higher oil, not only to the crushers, but the farmer, and to close the loop and to put the money back in the farmer's pocket. So yes, thank you. That's all that I have for you this afternoon. And yeah, any questions later will be appreciated. Thanks.
Charles, thank you very much for the insight in the Syngenta sunflower focus.